Thank you so much for all being here. I love this conference in particular because why? Because what we're talking about, almost everyone is talking about, and I just caught part of Dr. Berg's talk, is we're talking about how do we get the body to heal itself? How can we tap into our body's innate ability to heal? And this is what this talk is also going to be about. How are y'all doing after 3 days of drinking through the fire hose? All right, strap on your engines. Here we go. There's a lot of slides. I don't think I have quite as many as Benazati, but I've got quite a number. So here we go. Longevity and health span. Where do peptides and bioregulators fit in? I wanted to start by kind of doing a little bit of what's the landscape look like in the land of bioregulator peptides and basically functional medicine, right? So there's some good news and some bad news. The not so good news is the new FDA regulations that came down last November. They've reclassified most of the peptides that we know and use and love in the I'm not in the functional medicine world, but definitely in this space, as class 2 compounds, which basically means that compounding pharmacies can no longer manufacture them. It's a bummer, not gonna lie. They even managed to sweep up Epidolon, the pineal gland bioregulator, in that group, which really sucks. The good news is we have companies like Level Up Health outside who are making whatever they can in terms of oral supplements with the orally bioavailable peptides, such as GHK copper, which I'm going to talk about later today, BPC 157, thymosin beta 4. I mean, Kyle's on the hunt. He's liposoming, doing all kinds of stuff, whatever he can to make these peptides available. And for now, the big bad FDA haven't quite caught on to the oral thing yet, so we're in good shape. Epidolon, identified as a class 2 compound. There's good news here. Epidolon is only the synthetic version of the pineal gland bioregulator. We also have the biologic, which we're going to talk about later today. So we have options. Another thing that we're seeing is the investment of consumer packaged goods companies into our little space here. And I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but it's news. So I thought I would share. We have L'Oreal just invested $66 million into Timeline Nutrition, who make a compound called urolithin A. Urolithin A is super important for mitochondria, and of course we know without mitochondria nothing happens. And the last thing is, this is a really interesting one. For those of you who are really plugged into the bioregulator world, you might know that Professor Kavinson, who's the granddaddy of bioregulators, passed away tragically and very suddenly in January of 2024. And when this first happened, my Facebook group blew up. This guy said, he comes on and says, see, I told you, you can overdose on bioregulator peptides. Kavinson is dead. I'm like, okay, dude, let's just slow down for a minute here, right? Turns out that nobody actually knows what happened to Professor Kavinson because as a good Russian, they keep their cards very close to their chest. What I know on the down low is that the last number of years have been extremely stressful for Professor Kavinson. There's a possibility he talked the talk, maybe didn't walk the walk quite as well as he might have, and I think many of us suffer from that. We think that maybe if we talk about it, then it'll be, but we need to do it, right? So not to say that I even have an idea of what happened to Professor Kavinson, but definitely saying that there's going to be 4 slides at the end here that are going to have nothing to do with peptides and bioregulators. And the talk that Dr. Berg just delivered has nothing to do with peptides and bioregulators. And talks like Molly Eastman's about sleep and Karen Martell's about hormones. All of these things, all of the foundations that you've heard about for the last 3 years and 3 days and will continue to hear about are critical to your success no matter what modality you're using. Okay, let's move on. Life expectancy. Good news slide is on the rise. The bad news is US is number 47 here. So definitely some work to do. I'm fortunately from Canada, so apparently I'm going to live 4 years longer than the rest of you guys. But hopefully all of us in this room, because we're doing the work, stand a good chance of beating all those numbers. But it's a good thing, right? Overall, it's a good thing. The good news is we've more or less solved for living long. What we haven't necessarily solved for is living well. Right? So for many, many people, they may live until they're 90, they may even live till they're 92 or in their late 80s, But if you become frail, and whether that's physically or cognitively, it's not the package we want. And we are of a generation of people who want it all, right? Not only do we want to be able to climb mountains, we want to have our head together, and we want to look good, right? Nobody wants to hit the finish line looking like a raisin. I sure don't. So we're going to have to do some work. But the good news is, this, I think, is becoming a better reality with every passing day. We can make our last years our best years. Because why? Because we are in the era of biological age reversal. We actually are getting to a place where we can start to think and see that you actually can get younger as you get older. Because we have things like regenerative medicine. We have things like gene therapy, stem cell therapy, and exosomes. And what we're going to talk about today, bioregulator peptides, which, by the way, as they're coming back online, people are finding ways to bring them out, are going to be renamed amino acid complexes. Don't get confused, because the FDA has declared that bioregulator is a bad word and peptides are a bad word. That's okay. We have other words. We have a whole language to tap into, right? We can call them our secret weapon, whatever. Amino acid complexes it is. All right. Now, if we're going to hit the finish line well, we're going to have to delay and or avoid these major diseases of aging. And the fact of the matter is that many of them are avoidable. But we do have to do the work. We do have to lean in, and we have to do the work. So, who wants to guess how many theories of aging there are out there? Let me see if I can see any hands. Any guesses? You can yell. 10. Nice. Let's 30x that. There are 300 theories of aging out there. Clearly, we haven't quite figured it out yet. Clearly, there's a little dissent, which we want in the medical community and the research community, right? Because that's how we get to answers. I'm not going to talk about 300 theories today. I'm really going to talk about two. The one that is the most accepted and the one that you'll hear about the most are the hallmarks of aging. Why I love this theory is because it really gets down to the cell. The other thing I like about this theory of aging is that it's evolving, right? 2 years ago, there were 9 hallmarks of aging. There are now 12. And I believe that in the next year or so, we're going to see another 3 come up, because at the bottom line, we're starting to understand what are the cellular processes that are breaking down that are driving aging in our bodies. All right, but we are going to talk about another theory of aging, and that is the peptide theory of aging. Meet Professor Kavinson. This is a guy who spent the better part of his life and career studying and developing and discovering these amino acid complexes we are now going to be calling amino acid complexes. So Dr. Vladimir Kavinson was a 21-year-old corporal in the Russian army when his superiors came up to him and said, "Vladimir, our astronauts are coming back from space a hot mess. Our sailors are coming out back from nuclear submarine missions in even worse shape. We need you to figure out how to fix this. We need you to figure out how to reverse that aging process. Here's a blank checkbook. And when you're done doing your research, we've got factories filled with humans that you can do studies on." And so, you know, from disaster to wonder, Vladimir went, "All right, I'm on it." Right? So it didn't take him very long to find these little tiny amino acid complexes that seemed to be present in every life form that he looked at. And in science, when scientists, researchers find something that is preserved across all species, they're thinking, we're really onto something. Because if Mother Nature thought it was that important, then surely it's that important. And one thing led to another, and he discovered these bioregulator peptides. So, what are bioregulator peptides? They are 2 to 4 amino acid chains. So these are the tiniest of proteins. Many of you have probably heard of the long chain peptides, like the BPC157, thymosin alpha-1, thymosin beta-4. Really catchy names, I know. They're the best, right? Those guys are signaling molecules for the most part. These guys are only 2 to 4 amino acids long. They are the teeniest of the proteins, and they are epigenetic switches. So that means that they're able to get to your DNA, bind to the DNA, and affect the way that that DNA is expressing itself. That is pretty far upstream, right? If we can start affecting change at the DNA level, then that means the body gets to do what it does best, things that we don't even know are happening. So the cool thing about bioregulator peptides is you make them yourself. The challenge is you make a lot more of them when you're young than when we get older. So we've had to figure out ways to get access to them as we age to try and correct imbalances. So where do they come from? So they come from our bodies, but when it comes to bringing them back and reintroducing them to the body, we now have to look to the animal kingdom. And they are essentially extracts from animal tissues, right? So they are extracted from animal tissues, and this was the first place that Cavenson got them from. And can anybody think of another place, well, of how you might be able to get these in your diet? It's not just from eating meat. It's actually from eating organs. So I will often say to people who are very resistant to eating organ meats, which frankly are hard to come by, and there's a fairly high ick factor in North America when it comes to organ meats, you can still get them encapsulated. So companies like Heart and Soil, Ancestral Supplements, if you go on their websites and you see the unbelievable transformational results people are getting, this is from deep nutrition, and part of that deep nutrition would be the bioregulator peptides that are naturally existing in those organs. And if you look at ancestral medicine, what would they give to someone who has a heart condition? They'd give them heart. Someone with a brain condition, they would give them brain. And yeah, they ate that. It was a good thing. My grandmother used to make this omelet with brain. I never really liked it much as a kid, but anyway, I digress. Okay, so we can extract from animal tissues. We can also get them synthetically derived from a lab, right? And those guys need to either be injected or taken as sublingual sprays. Now, the interesting thing about these bioregulator peptides is that because they are so tiny, they can get in any which way that you introduce them. So it's kind of cool. Now, how do they really work? Now, that mitochondrial word should actually be nuclear. So please erase mitochondrial from your brain and from your slides. They actually are able to cross the cellular membrane into the nucleus of the cell, which is where your DNA exists, and this is how they act as epigenetic switches. And at that level, they're able to facilitate the rejuvenation and restoration at a cellular level in those specific targeted tissues and organs. All right, there are 21 amino acid complexes. In the interest of time, I am just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm just gonna put this up so you can take a picture. As you can see, all of our major organs and glands are represented here. I can't go through all of them because, well, you know, the hook will come out, I'll get pulled off the stage. But what I will cover with you are my top 6. Now the top 6, something horrible happened to my SLADs last night. Cardilac should actually be the pancreas bioregulator. I'm gonna explain why. And I'm gonna tell you why in this order I've chosen the top 6. If you've heard me speak before, or if you've heard any of the podcasts that I've been on, you know that the pineal gland bioregulator is my desert island bioregulator. Why? Because the pineal gland really runs the show, right? What is the pineal gland bioregulator capable of? Well, number one, it's anti-tumor. It has a powerful impact on the immune system, along with another one of the thymus gland bioregulators, which is Vilon, V-I-L-O-N, which is only available as a synthetic. Those two bioregulators have been shown to suppress the tumors in transgenic mice that carry the HER2 mutation. So that has yet to be repeated in humans, but it's pretty good evidence. Other things that the pineal gland bioregulator can do is it can normalize melatonin production, which in and of itself is going to be pretty interesting for our immune system. It also regulates circadian rhythm. It activates telomerase, which helps to restore and maintain the length of your telomeres on the end of your DNA, which means that your DNA can replicate more times, which is really good. I'll explain why later. And it is your master endocrine regulator. Super cool. Next, we have the thymus gland bioregulator. Well, if there's one thing that's going to take us down, and one thing that does take us down in our life, it is an immune system that is dysregulated. So we know the thymus gland involutes as we turn into adults, and it's a really good idea to get it re-engaged and to get that immune system, all those immune cells, to get those CD4, CD8, get everything in balance and working again. The blood vessel bioregulator, I think we'd be hard-pressed to function without a healthy circulatory system. This is about bringing nutrients to the body, to organs, to tissues, and to cells, and removing toxins. The other thing about the blood vessel bioregulator is it helps to restore integrity and health to the endothelium of those blood vessels. And this is where the damage happens, yes? So anything we can do to renew the endothelium is going to be incredibly valuable. The brain bioregulator is making its first appearance on this list, and that's because it takes care of the central nervous system. It actually has applications for neurodegenerative diseases and traumatic brain injuries. Also, if we think of the HPA axis, we're going to want to use the adrenal bioregulator. We're going to be wanting to use that thyroid, right? And then we're going to want to hit the central nervous system and the brain. The liver, I don't have to tell you. Right? Nothing good. This liver bioregulator, interestingly enough, has also seen a little bit of really good research around helping with hepatitis. Finally, cartilax. So cartilax is interesting because we know that our joints are really important, but where else would collagen and elastin, which is what cartilax is really good at upregulating, be important? It is important for our skin, so remember, we don't want to finish looking like raisins. But the other interesting thing about collagen and elastin that we often forget is that it is critical to the functioning of our organs. Everything that needs to expand and contract, our blood vessels, our kidneys, our liver, our lungs, our heart, everything needs to be elastic, right? Now, I will cheat and give you a bonus on the pancreas because of that first slide, one of those first slides, when we talked about what are the things that are really bringing us down and metabolic imbalances. Getting that pancreas functioning, helping with blood sugar regulation. If you caught Danielle Hamilton's talk Friday. I think she was the first talk of the conference. I'm jealous, really. But getting that pancreas, giving the pancreas some love is going to be critical to our longevity. All right, here we go. I added this slide. I've never presented this at a conference before. And the reason why I've never presented this at a conference before is I don't have time. The reason why I'm telling you today is because I'm so tired of hearing people running around saying, you need 10 milligrams a day of Epidolon. No, you need 10 milligrams a day of this. Nomenclature of bioregulators is a gong show. Here's the thing, it's almost as bad. Those three words, Epidolon, endolutin, and epithalamin, all refer to the same bioregulator. Every bioregulator has three names. Epidolon is the synthetic form of the pineal gland bioregulator. Endolutin is the oral extract, so it's an actual extract of pineal gland that's been formulated and put into capsules. And epithalamin is that extract that's been now formulated as an intramuscular injection. In terms of power, the most powerful is epithalamin. Epithalamin is a 10 milligram a day dose, and you kind of have to go to St. Petersburg in Russia to get it. Kind of tricky these days. Endolutin is now going to be the easiest form to get. And if you guys want to, if you head over to natniddam.com, I've got a Nat Recommends page. My resources are there for the bioregulator peptides. Epidolon is the one that just kind of got nixed by the FDA. There's still maybe ways to get it. The story goes that endolutin, the oral bioregulator, may take a little bit longer to kick in, but has longer lasting effects, whereas Epidolon, which is the synthetic, kicks in faster, but maybe the effects don't last quite as long. The proper dose for the synthetic is 100 micrograms. So that's 0.1 milligrams. We do go up to a milligram a day, depending on the situation, but the 10 milligrams a day comes from the oral and the intramuscular. This is going to apply to every other bioregulator. All right, modulation. Why is modulation important? Because this word describes why bioregulator peptides are believed to be as safe as they are. They do not boost, they do not suppress. They do not cut off pathways. They do not block the body's own feedback systems. What the bioregulators do is they seek to restore homeostasis. And this is why they are so powerful the older you get, right? Because the older we get, the more out of whack we are. And so what the bioregulator is going to do is it's going to try to bring us back into balance. So I'm going to go over a couple of really powerful studies with you, but the best example of modulation that I can give you is with thyroid. The thyroid bioregulator can be taken by someone who's either hyper or hypothyroid. It's going to help both those people. All right, let's dig into a little bit of research. How much time do I have? Ooh, 25 minutes. Okay, the elderly study. This is a big, giant, and by the way, I did not give these names. I did not call it the elderly study. I'm just putting it out there. I think in this day and age, 60 no longer calls us elderly, does it? So this was a 12-year study. Cavinson had a control group and a test group. The control group got an injection of polyvitamins. The test subjects were given an injection of epithalamin, just the pineal gland bioregulator. After 6 years, he checked in with his groups. He was measuring for mortality. It's really hard to measure for how long people live because people live too long, right? We don't die fast enough. So basically he's saying, can we basically prevent people from dying using these compounds? Well, in the control group, there was 13.6% mortality. The people who got the epithalamin, only 8.5% mortality. So he's like, that's pretty good. Check out what happens after 12 years. That's half the mortality in the epithalamin group. That's impressive. Then he goes, okay, let's up the ante. Let's go after the really old people. So now, we don't expect these people to live as long, so we're going to do this for only 6 years. But he did up the ante a little bit because he had 3 groups. He had a control group that got the polyvitamin injection. He had his first test group that got epithalamin, just like in the first one. And his second test group got epithalamin and thymolin. So he got thymus and pineal gland. Controls after 6 years, most of them were kind of gone. Epithalamin, half mortality. That ratio almost stuck, right? Check it out. When we support the immune system in the pineal gland, only 33% mortality. Pretty cool. Here's what else is cool. They weren't using these bioregulators for 6 years, nor were they using them for 12 years in the first study. They only used them for 3 years. But the good news, the even better news is, remember we talked at the beginning, living long is one thing, but how are you living? Well, these people had better sleep, better immune, increased bone density, better sense of well-being, which is obvious because they were sleeping, improved melatonin production, improved cardiovascular function, and improved overall endocrine function. So overall, it was a win-win-win-win. All right, now here's a few clinical trials and applications. I didn't go into too many of these. Here's one on diabetic retinopathy. Here's what's really interesting about eyes. If you're going to treat the eyes with bioregulators, you're going to use the retinal bioregulator. You're probably going to use the blood vessel, which they didn't in this one, or they didn't talk about it in this one. But you're also going to use the brain, because the brain bioregulator has huge impact on the eye. So in this case, he used all 3, the retinal, the epithalamin, and cortexin. Cortexin is the brain. 104 test subjects versus 42 controls. In 90% of cases, those peptide bioregulators promoted improvement of vision acuity. Then there's a bunch of words that I can't pronounce properly. It would take me too long. But in all cases, improved the functional activity of the retina as well as retinal blood flow. Cool. Here's another one. Clinical trial with Cartilax. Now, this is the synthetic bioregulator for cartilage. These people were given 0.1 100 micrograms of Cartilax 3 times a day. 63 patients between the ages of 45 to 78 years old. The other interesting thing here is they combined the bioregulators with conventional treatment. And in a lot of the studies, you will see this. This is what's really cool about bioregulators, is that they play well with conventional treatment. So we're not in the business of throwing conventional treatment out to the side. We're just saying, can we make it better? Can we help people feel better faster? And can we maybe help people to actually eventually maybe let go of those conventional drugs? In some cases you can, and in some cases we can't. So in this group of 63 patients, we had a split between these 3 conditions. The controls only received conventional. The test subjects got the bioregulators as well. And the test subjects experienced reduced pain as well as increased mobility of joints in 65 to 72% of cases. Kind of cool. All right, Bill Lawrence. How many of you guys have heard podcasts I've done with Bill? Yeah, a few. He's a pretty impressive guy. He was working with Professor Cavinson until Professor Cavinson passed away. And he's got a clinical trial going on where he's got over 120 physicians enrolled, and they're using bioregulators. And what he's interested to see is, can we reverse biological age in these people? And the cool thing is, Bill was kind enough to share his updated results with me that he only just shared last week in the UK for the first time. So the DNA methylation 2-year study results, 124 participants. After 2 years of cycling through all the bioregulators, there's an average decrease in epigenetic age of almost 5 years, which means an all-cause mortality reduction of 56%. Super cool. And even those who'd been using bioregulators before they started continued to improve. Now the other arm, wait, go back. Could bioregulator peptides' ultimate key benefit be the restoration of the ability of DNA to repair itself? This is Bill's hypothesis right now. I'm sure that he's going to be jumping through hoops to prove this, but if that's really the mechanism of action, then this is really, really big. This could be a Nobel Prize thing, right? Do you think? All right, the other arm of his study is looking at telomere length. Right? Shortened telomeres are associated with increased risk of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and accelerated aging. We need to hang on to our telomeres. We don't want them to be too long, but we don't want them to shorten up. Look at what happened to it on average in his group. Telomeres are a lot easier to lengthen than DNA methylation is to affect, I will tell you that. There is one freebie way of lengthening your telomeres that I will share with you today, and that is to become a Zen monk and to become really good at meditation. I don't know about you guys, I'm still practicing on even practicing meditation, so I'll take some pineal peptide. Thank you so much. All right. Am I going the wrong way? Oh, get this. There were 2 people that didn't see any improvements. I'm like, Bill, what gives? If you're so great, if these things are so great, how is this possible? Well, he knows every one of his subjects really well. Chronic stress, the great equalizer. So if there's one thing we want to do, whether it's breath work, an app, a vagus nerve stimulator, whatever it takes, we need to develop the skills to mitigate the impact of stress on our bodies. We're not going to stop stress. Lord knows that in the world we're living in right now, stress is a gimme. Yes, stressful events are a gimme, but we can control how stress impacts us. So you take away nothing from this talk. It's helped to manage your stress. All right. A year of bioregulators. This is a program that I started in my membership community, and this will be the basis of my talk next year, wherever I happen to be. We're going to be measuring telomeres. We're going to be measuring pace of aging. We're going to be measuring DNA methylation. And we're going to be using wearable data to give us some feedback as we go. So people will be cycling through a year of bioregulators. And yeah, we're getting started in the next couple of months. I'm pretty excited. I've got a bunch of people enrolled already. And that's what's coming down the pipes from me. Anecdotes from the field. Okay, there's about 3 of these I'm going to share with you today. One is on prostate health, because very often people will say to me, well, why would I use a bioregulator? Very often people will use bioregulators, they're not going to feel anything. So I'm going to say this to you, and I'm going to say it to you again. If you don't have an imbalance, you probably won't feel anything. Those elderly studies showed that you get really big results in people who are elderly. Just so you know, it's raining. Just not my hair, because it'll explode. So the people who will see who will feel the most impact from bioregulators are people who have imbalances. Now, prostate health is a big deal. How it shows up in many men is they just have to get up and go to the bathroom over and over again at night. 86-year-old man, he was getting up to pee 4 times. His sleep was completely messed up, which in and of itself is going to be aging and a problem, yes? We used the prostate bioregulator, we used the oral form. He did a 30-day course, and then we repeated 10-day courses a month for the next 3 or 4 months. At the end of it, Reduced nighttime visits to the bathroom, went down from 4 down to once, if at all. I was like, wow, that's super cool. Menstrual cycle. So in cycling women who have lost their cycles, and I've seen this in the groups over and over again, and I'm gonna tell you now there's no recipe. I can't tell you what the protocol is. I can tell you that what the protocol involves is all the things. Looking at your hormones, checking out your diet, stress, adrenals, thyroid, the whole 9 yards. But in so many cases, what we've seen be the final little click in the equation is pineal gland and ovarian bioregulator together. 30 days plus 10 days a month, and the cycle just seems to come right back. Super cool. Okay, there's so many words on this slide, it actually gives me hives. But I did want to share this with you because this is someone in my membership community who came on one day and just said, I am so stoked. You guys need to see this. Her Hashimoto's reversed. She'd been working with a naturopath for years. Again, she was doing all the things, but it's when she added that thyroid bioregulator that all of a sudden everything fell into place for her. It doesn't mean that it'll happen all the time, but it means that in some cases when you've got all the other pieces in place, sometimes giving that signal to the thyroid to rejuvenate and restore function, maybe correcting that DNA expression is the final thing that helps to move the needle. Okay, bioregulator fast facts. I'm gonna have to start talking even faster. They are almost always used in stacks. Even though I've had a couple of examples here where they weren't, most of the time we're gonna create a stack, right? So we're gonna layer them, and you almost always see the blood vessel bioregulator pop in somewhere. And the other one is pineal gland, depending on the situation. So we do, in a therapeutic situation, we're gonna start with 30 days, and then we're gonna do 10-day cycles. And then we're gonna look for change. I'm gonna go over here. Because it's raining over there. We're gonna look for change. And when we start to see things starting to shift, we might continue another month at a 10-day cycle, and then we'll pause. And then we'll see if the body's ready to pick it up on its own. We see things start to slide again, we may bring in another 10 days, okay? Feel your way. There's a lot of art. There's a lot of science, but there's a lot of art. And the last one I'm gonna say to you, please be specific about which form of peptide you're using when it comes to dosing and choosing. Oh, actually, that little Nemerex box there, that's how you get Villon. Remember that Villon, the bioregulator that works with the pineal gland bioregulator? That's Nemerex. All right, the ultimate healthy aging stack. I'm gonna go through these pretty quickly. The pineal gland, the thymus gland, and the blood vessel bioregulator. This is straight out of Cavinson's research. I added the blood vessel bioregulator in there because, as we know, nothing good happens without the blood vessel. And if you're under the age, let's say you're between the ages of like 30 to 45, you might do 30-day cycle once or twice a year. If you're over the age of 45, kind of 50, you might do that 30-day cycle maybe every 3 months or every 4 months. So you might repeat it a couple of times over the course of the year. So think of it as restoring the tread on your tires, right? Think of it as you're driving on your tires, the tread's going down, going down, going down. All we're doing is like giving ourselves more buffer, creating more resilience in the system. The ultimate brain health stack, I'm sure most of you guys by now can figure this one out. It's going to be the pineal gland bioregulator, the central nervous brain bioregulator, and the blood vessel bioregulator. And metabolic health. If we're interested in longevity, we have got to nail this, people. Right? One other thing about the pineal gland bioregulator that I think I forgot to mention is it's for some people with dysregulated sleep, it can be another really important and very powerful piece of the puzzle. Dysregulated sleep is going to age us. We know that. All right. This lecture was called Peptides and Bioregulators, Anti-Aging Peptides. I'm going to talk about one. I was going to talk about growth hormone secretagogues and this one, but A, I don't have time, and B, I think that growth hormone, it's an interesting one, right? You got to hit the sweet spot. As a matter of fact, there's a very interesting and very knowledgeable longevity expert by the name of Dr. Nir Barzilai, who is studying centenarians. And what he's found in his centenarians is that the ones with the lowest growth hormone, well, his centenarians almost all have low growth hormone levels. Interesting. I don't think we want no growth hormone. Obviously, we need to be able to repair, but growth hormone is very much a sweet spot peptide. Too much growth hormone is absolutely pro-aging. So I'm going to go through some natural ways of increasing growth hormone, but the one peptide I am going to talk about, which I often will refer to as the orphan bioregulator, is GHK copper. Now, GHK copper, shockingly, was on the FDA list. Who would have thunk? You can get it from Level Up Health. He's got it in bottles, in capsules, and it is not on the FDA list. The only thing I'll say is if you're going to take capsules, take zinc, just to balance out that copper, okay? But why is GHK peptide the orphan bioregulator? Well, number one, it's 3 amino acids. It falls in this right size. Our levels drop dramatically as we age. We can use it topically, systemically, and we can also take it orally. And I think you're going to start to see more and more oral supplements come to market. Kyle is one of the first ones because, of course, he's always riding that wave, right? GHK copper peptide benefits in research. Here's what is super cool about GHK. GHK increased or decreased gene expression up or down more than 50% in 32% of human genes. It did so in restoring youthful settings of the DNA. Talk about getting younger as you get older. There's evidence that GHK reverses the gene silencing that actually drives aging. It's currently being studied for treatment of certain cancers. It treats neurodegenerative diseases because it has an ability to deliver non-toxic copper into brain cells. What else? Powerful for wound healing and tissue remodeling. It helps to reduce scarring. It has a role in healing nerves, stimulates the production of collagen and elastin. Again, skin, blood vessels, organs. Plus, it has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. One of the 3 hallmarks of aging that was added to those original 9 was inflammaging, right? So anything we can do to help with that. There's a really cool skincare line, right? So Dr. Pickard, who discovered JHKCU, has a skincare line himself, and there's another company that also has GHK copper in their skincare, which is Vitali Skincare. They have a serum that is next to none. And it's what's cool about it is it is bioavailable topically, but the best way to use GHK copper for skin would be to microneedle with it. So I'll just leave you with that little pro bonus tip. All right, what's our next slide? Okay, ways to stimulate growth hormone. I knocked out like 5 slides just so I had a hope of finishing in time here. So other ways to stimulate growth hormone are lift heavy weights, fasting. Dr. Berg just gave you like the mother load of information on fasting, I know. Sauna, deliberate cold exposure, katsu bands. This is variable blood flow restriction. They upregulate growth hormone, testosterone, signaling molecules that promote healing. Those things are the bomb. And you could just be working at your desk and using them. Super cool. And of course, quality sleep, right? So if growth hormone excess is pro-aging, you will never, doing any of these things and all of these things, get to that place. All you will be able to do is get your body to make more growth hormone and allow the wisdom of your body to determine how much you actually need. All right, laying a powerful foundation. Here are the things we need to keep an eye on. And we can't leave any of these out, guys. All of this needs to be dialed in. The foods that we eat, the foods we don't eat, okay? Because we can eat all the healthy foods in the world if we're following it up with a thing of French fries that, who was it that was talking about 1 French fry equals a cigarette? Who was it? Benazati, right? We've just undone all the healthy foods. Set your goals. Exercise and movement are not the same. Challenge your VO2 max 2 minutes a day, twice a day even, of hitting your VO2 max. You could be doing high knees, you could be doing jumping jacks, you could be running up and down stairs. Just 2 minutes a day of getting out of breath is going to be massively important to your longevity. But VO2 max and longevity are aligned. Movement means get out of your chair. When I'm done talking, every one of you is going to stand up. Yes? Because you sit there for too long and you're cutting off blood flow. Smoking, or no, sitting, the new smoking, right? Who was it that said that? Sleep and recovery. Quality sleep, allowing your body to recover, managing our stress, building resilience. Things like heart math. Things like breath work, even a box breath, is super powerful for helping us to regulate our nervous system. Getting your hormones balanced. Karen Martell slayed the room yesterday, right? And Amy Horniman talking about thyroid. Those hormones, we need to seek balance in hormones so that our body can then do what it needs to do. And the last one, which is possibly the most important, is the microbiome. We are outnumbered 10 to 1 at a cellular level when it comes to organisms and even genetic material coming from our gut. And if we think we can get healthy and old without a healthy microbiome, we're kidding ourselves. So all of these are critically important. And without getting these in, look, the bioregulators will work. But if you get this figured out, if you get this in balance, you are off to the races. There's no limit. I don't think, well, there's a limit. There's always a limit. All right, mind your cells. Remember we talked about the 12 hallmarks of aging? Every one of them talks about cellular health. So we need to support the cells. So I actually took the liberty of sharing a couple of my favorite supplements with you here. B Minerals is out there. Fatty 15 is pentadecanoic acid. It is the first essential fatty acids that's been discovered in 90 years. It is critically important for the function of every cell membrane in your body, and that includes mitochondrial membranes. And it's just an itty-bitty little capsule once a day. It's super cool. Body Bio PC oil is your phosphatidylserine, phosphatidylcholine. Again, we need that cell membrane to be elastic. We need it to be functioning so it allows the nutrients in and it allows the toxins out. Cellular senescence are zombie cells. We don't want to eliminate them because they do serve a purpose, shockingly, but we need to reduce the load so that the body's good systems can overcome and it can function. So what I like to use, primidine, spermidine, is a great one, but it actually, what I didn't point out on my hallmarks of aging wheel is that there was an inner circle and it showed that spermidine affected every single one of those 12 hallmarks of aging. Very powerful compound. And then last but not least, qualia senolytic, I really like because it's 2 days a month, 6 capsules each of those 2 days, and it's a super powerful herbal formula that decreases your senescent cell load. Very easy to use. The other interesting thing about B Minerals is not only are they your body spark plugs by providing trace minerals, but it also assists in removing toxins. And remember, we need to clear the way for those bioregulators to do their thing. Glyphosate, it's a reality, it's in our environment, we're not going to get away from it. Quest Biotics is a really interesting company. I recorded a podcast with Martha Coughlin. She was actually around yesterday, a couple of years ago, and there's a probiotic strain in that probiotic that actually breaks down glyphosate in your gut. Check it out. You got to check it out, you guys. It actually might be on that page and on Nat Recommends. Okay, 3 powerful lifestyle habits. You've already heard this before. Your bonus is morning light. Get outside. I don't care what the weather is. Just poke your head out the window if you have to. Wear a rain hat. Step away from the sunglasses and expose your eyes to morning light. Let your brain know where it is. The power of testing. Blood work, biological age testing, DNA methylation, pace of aging, telomere length. All of these are critically important. Regular blood work is basic. I'm shocked at how many people don't do regular blood work. It gives you so much great information. For the biological age testing, I use True Diagnostic. There are a number of companies out there. The most important thing about biological age testing is once you've done one, if you're going to remeasure in a year to see your progress, you've got to stick with the same company. Because they're all different. They're all using different metrics, different algorithms. So you've got to pick a team and stick with it. Last but not least, again, this is even below the foundation. This goes below everything else I've been talking about, right? This is our core. This is our basis. Benazati, that video that he posted of that woman who was in her 90s and who talked about her gratitude, about feeling grateful for everything in her life. If we can hang on to that, if we can live in joy and gratitude and loving the people around us, surrounding ourselves with the right people, and blessing and releasing the ones who maybe we shouldn't be around so much, I think everything really moves into where we need it to go. Yes? our most powerful tool. Thank you so much. I have 58 seconds left. Thanks so much, guys. I don't know if we have time for questions. We don't. No time for questions. I gotta go. Thank you so much.
3 minutes? I don't know. False alarm, false alarm. One question, one lucky question. We got time. Don't go away. There we go. The back's like, what? Here, hold on. Come here. Or there's a microphone. Yeah.
So I just got the GHK copper. What was it that you said to take with it? Iron?
Oh, no, I was saying because of the copper. So the best thing to do is to get your copper and zinc levels tested. That's a ceruloplasmin test. Mm-hmm. And if there's any imbalance at all, then you're going to want to balance the copper with zinc.
Gotcha.
Okay, as long as you're not copper toxic, which you shouldn't be, but it's never a bad idea to check.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, last one. Sorry.
A person that has dealt with thrombocytopenia.
Thrombocytopenia, okay.
ITP, low platelets situation.
Okay.
Can they experiment with bio-regulators and peptides and all that?
It depends. I'm sorry. That's
I know that's your favorite answer.
Well, it's not my favorite. Unfortunately, it's the one that's most appropriate.
I know.
I think that there's probably some bioregulators that would be appropriate. I think we'd have to look into the research a little bit, though.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks so much, guys.